channel Baptized Doctors, where I share my life experiences. I hope you find my stories entertaining, informative, or relatable. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today's video was inspired by Megan Moon. She's an American lady married to South Korean man and currently living in South Korea. You should please check out her channel. She has a lot of videos. She does a lot of vlogs. And if today's topic is not your cup of tea,
till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. No.
She has many other topics that she discusses on her YouTube channel, so you should definitely check her out. So I watch a lot of Megan's videos, but this particular video really caught my attention. I was absolutely hooked the entire time. So in this video, she was talking about why marriage is hard. Marriage in South Korea is hard, and why a lot of marriages end up in divorce. And the entire time I was watching this video, I couldn't help but notice a lot of similarities between South Korean culture, at least like the topic she was talking about on that day. I couldn't help but notice a lot of similarities between South Korea and Zimbabwe, culture-wise. Actually, as I spend more time on YouTube watching YouTube videos, I've noticed that there's a lot of the Asian and African cultures have a lot in common, but also we have a lot that sets us apart, just like any other cultures, really. Some cultures, as much as cultures might have a lot in common, they also have a lot of things that set them apart. Each culture is unique. So I'm not saying Asian cultures and African cultures are the same, but there are similarities, uncanny similarities that I've picked up on. Okay, so I'm going to mention the points. As I was watching this video, actually, when I first watched this video, I wasn't planning on having a YouTube channel. But once I started my YouTube channel, and as I was brainstorming different video ideas, this video came to mind. So I had to actually go back to the video, watch it again, and take down notes. And the first time I watched the video, I left a comment, and this was actually 2 months ago. It was 2 months ago. I left a comment on a lengthy comment. At first, I was going to read the comment on YouTube, but I realized my video is going to be painfully long. So I'm not going to read the comment. But while I was looking for my comment, I actually noticed that another Zimbabwean commented on the same video, also mentioning the similarities that she had picked up on between Zimbabwean and South Korean culture. And once again, I repeat, similarities pertaining to the particular topic that Megan was discussing. Okay, so I'm going to, I made notes on the different points that I picked up on, main points from my point of view, main points that she mentioned, and then I'm going to go into how those points reminded me of Zimbabwean culture. Okay, so the first point that I have here is divorce rates. So she was talking about how current South Korean culture is heavily influenced by events that happened in the past of South Korea, or is heavily influenced by how do I say it? By old-fashioned, yes, how current South Korean culture is heavily influenced by I forgot how to talk. I completely have to really have to talk. Current South Korean culture is heavily influenced by the past of South Korea. There are a lot of old-fashioned aspects to the present day culture, just like any other culture, it's heavily influenced by the past. Okay, so South Korea is no different. So she said, back in the day, divorce rates were low despite the low quality of marriages. So she said currently there are a lot of divorces in South Korea, which is different from back in the day, where people didn't really divorce regardless of marriages being of very low quality. And she talked about, so I'm saying this in my own words, I'm not saying verbatim what she was saying at the time, so a lot might be lost in translation. Okay, so she said she talked about filial piety. She said a lot of children feel like they owe their parents. Some children even give their parents monthly allowances. And another point was mothers are sometimes obsessed with their sons, yearning for their affection and attention. Like mothers are really very close to their sons. You know, sometimes to the detriment of the son's marriage or relationships with other women. Okay, another point is a person who married into the family is in blood, so they are often ill-treated. I found this quite interesting because, you know, the mother-in-law, like mother-in-laws are usually the perpetrators. They're usually the perpetrators of this ill treatment towards people married to the family, but they are also not blood. My mother-in-law, I don't have a mother-in-law, I'm not married.
I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
But I'm saying the mother-in-law who is mistreating your daughter-in-law, also married into the same, they're both not blood. We both came here for marriage, because of marriage. So I found that interesting. If the use of honorifics is emphasized, actually, I'm not familiar, like the term honorific, I came across it when I started watching Korean content and watching Korean dramas. Oh, I love K-dramas. I think I should film a whole video on my love of K-dramas. Okay, so honorific, the definition of honorific is a title or word implying or expressing respect. And so she was saying, like, people are very strict about honorifics, about addressing people according to their age or hierarchy in society. Okay, and she talked about how families often micromanage their children's marriages. Most people prioritize their parents over their spouses. Visiting and calling in-laws is sometimes a mandate. Most houses it falls into the wife's lap. So when she talked about calling and visiting in-laws, I found it a very interesting thing, and something that I wouldn't be able to do myself, because I do not enjoy being on the phone just for the sake of being on the phone, like talking to someone on the phone just for the sake of it. You know, I like, you know, those calls where people just randomly call you just to say hi. I do not enjoy those. I'd rather take a nap. I love sleeping, guys. And sometimes people call me at night just to say hi, just for small talk. I really cannot do that. It's hard for me. It's hard. I even take long to respond to messages. That's how much I'm detached from my phone. The only person that I have like lengthy calls with is my older sister, because I love her and I enjoy talking to her on the phone, just talking absolute nonsense with her. Like, we can talk for hours. But everyone else, child, why are we on the phone for over 30 minutes and you have nothing important to discuss? You know, call people when you have something really important to discuss. I just gave myself away. But I honestly do not enjoy phone calls, especially lengthy phone calls where we have moments of silence and just talk, just engage in small talk. Okay, so now coming to my talking points. So she was talking about how, you know, about how when someone gets married to a South Korean man, not necessarily for, but like even for South Koreans themselves, when someone gets married to a South Korean man, the man's mother usually expects the wife to occasionally call her and give her updates on how his son is and just talk. Like, it becomes almost mandatory for the daughter-in-law to call your mother-in-law. I thought this is, I found it to be quite a lot to take in. But then with the call, something related to the call thing is visiting the men's family. That I know it happens a lot in Zimbabwe. You know, once you get married, not that you're no longer part of your own family, but most visits happen to the husband side of the family. So, usually people go to the rural homes or gather as a family on holidays, on big holidays like Easter, Christmas, New Year's, and usually the wife and the family visit the husband's family on such occasions. And sometimes women end up not seeing their families for years on end because they have to visit the husband's family every time they have some free time, or every time they have a chance to travel, they are traveling to their husband's home. I actually remember a story of a lady who had not been to a family in 20 years. 20 years, can you believe it? She had not seen a family in 20 years because she was always visiting the husband's family. And she wasn't living in a different country. She was living in Zimbabwe. She was right there in Zimbabwe where her family was. But she didn't see them in 20 years because it's either she was at her own home or she was visiting the husband's home. I'm not familiar with the full story, the circumstances that led to her not seeing a family for over 20 years. But yes, she had not been to a family for 20 years since, and this is the time that she was married. So she got married and she'd never been to see a family. It's really wild. Okay, and so she said the mother-in-law tends to govern what happens in the marriage, and the husband would drop everything to make sure that his mother is happy, to make sure that he does what his mother wants him to do. And this reminded me of this term called kutandabuzo in Shona, where the way the culture says that you should always respect your mother. You should not disrespect your mother, because if you disrespect your mother, then bad things might happen to you. That's when you do kutandabuzo. So when I was growing up, I would do that kind of walk kutandabuzo, after you disrespect your mother and bad things start happening to you. I don't know who inflicts this punishment on people who disrespect their mothers, but they said you would take off your clothes and wear these bags. These bags you used to use for carrying you wear these bags and you act crazy. You walk around begging and eating out of beans and stuff like that. Eating out of beans, not beans the legume, but beans the dustbins where people throw away food. People really respect their mothers, and they do a lot of things that their mothers request just because they don't want to tandabuzo. I think people now are not really respecting their mother just because they don't want to tandabuzo, but respecting your mother is quite a big part of Zimbabwean culture. So I'm not saying people are not disrespecting the mother just because they're scared of the punishment that they will go through, but it's just a big part of our culture, respecting your mother. And I think even with the kutandabuzo, you didn't just it didn't happen to you just because you disrespected your mother. I think you had to beat her up for that to happen to you. So it was in extreme cases you would be punished and you would take off your clothes and run like a madman. And so as Megan Moon is talking, I'm going through my points now. So as Megan Moon was talking about how marriage is difficult in South Korea and how the divorce rates are rising, they're skyrocketing. Usually it's the daughter-in-laws who are not happy with the quality of the marriages that they are in, and this is usually tied to how the mother-in-law behaves. But my next point is actually the other way around. It's about how the bride's family views their son-in-law. So in Shona we have an expression that says "mukwasha muonda peri kudyiwa," which literally translates to a son-in-law is like a fig tree. A fig tree, apparently figs are always in season. So once the ripe figs are done, the tree will start to, the new figs will be coming out. So figs are always in season, and they say, according to this term, a son-in-law is like that. So a son-in-law is a gift that keeps giving. So regardless, so in most African cultures, and Zimbabwean culture is no exception, when you get married, your husband pays a bride price to your family. Actually, have my own views on bride prices. Like at one point, I was thinking, like a lot of people are leaning towards what I'm going to say now. That why is someone paying for a bride? Why am I paying for a wife? And why does my husband have to pay for me? And why does my family have to demand money from my family, put a price tag on me when I get married? But when I think of it, when this culture started, it wasn't about putting a price tag on your daughter or extorting your son-in-law. I think there was a deeper meaning to it, but just like in other cultural aspect, it ended up getting exploited and ended up getting out of hand, and now it's just being abused. But I think when it started, it was coming from a good place, and parents were just parents had very good reasons to request a bride price from their husband's family. What I think is, people, when you buy something, I'm not saying you buy a person, sounds like a slavery thing kind of thing, but when you pay a lot of money for something, you value it. It's like that luxury car that you bought and you spend an arm and a leg on it, and you're paying a lot for insurance on this car. You take good care of it. You avoid driving next to crazy looking drivers. You stop at traffic lights, not just because you want to save your life, but you don't want anyone to bump into this Lamborghini Lamborghini that you bought, because you paid a lot of money for it. So I think maybe this is my thinking. I'm not saying that's what Zimbabwean culture or African culture is hinged on, but I think people who started with the idea of bride prices, our ancestors, they were thinking, if your family parts with 10 of their cows because of this woman, you're going to value her, you're going to take good care of her. But I think nowadays people are just now asking for exorbitant amounts of money just because they can, just because we need lobola from you. No, just me and my thoughts there. So this Mkwasha Monde part of Zimbabwean culture, I find it a little bit toxic, because not every son-in-law will be able to make it rain on their in-laws for the rest of their lives. Because people, once you get married, you have to think about taking care of your marriage, nurturing your own marriage. So constantly giving money to your in-laws just because is counterproductive, because now you have to take care of your family, nurture a family, invest in it, build a home for you and your wife and your children that might potentially have. And once you start having children, you have to invest towards the children's education and making sure that your children have a good life. So constantly giving money to your in-laws, it doesn't work. It makes no sense to me. If I pay bride price now for my wife, I should expect that to be the end of it. Maybe when I visit, I can bring something, or when the family is in a crisis, I can send them something. But expecting me to do it all the time it's not practical. Me as the man. Okay. And when Megan mentioned, now I'm a little bit over the place. So Megan mentioned that South Koreans don't do a lot of housework. There actually was a survey done where among developed countries, South Korean men did the least, spend the least time on housework. So when I think from a Zimbabwean perspective, men doing housework, it's in the rural areas where I grew up. That's another thing that I need to mention. That Zimbabwe, just like in other country, is rural areas, and then they are affluent areas like cities, big cities. So the way things happen in big cities is quite. I couldn't believe the word that was came out of cities. The way things happen in big cities is usually quite different from the way things happen in rural areas. But I'm going to talk about where I grew up in the rural areas. If a man would be seen washing dishes, sweeping the yard, doing all these washing clothes, bathing the kids, like all these all this, if a man would be seen doing all these chores traditionally associated with women, people would say akajikiswa, like, oh, the wife did something to this man to make him stupid. Now he's doing all this housework around the house while she's probably sitting or while she's probably doing nothing. And actually realize now that, how people know that maybe the wife is sick, that's why the husband has to do the laundry and wash the dishes and sweep the yard, because he's trying to help his sick wife or his pregnant wife. But people wouldn't really think much of the circumstances that led to this man doing the dishes. They would just say, Akajisa, something is fishy, something smells fishy in this marriage. Why is the man doing the housework? Why is the man helping around the house? But with modern marriages, it is actually quite common for men to help around the house and to perform duties that are traditionally reserved for women. But for some reason, I think these roles, people don't discuss that you as the husband, you're going to wash the car. I as the wife, I'm going to wash the dishes. I think people just find themselves doing these things. It just happens. It organically happens. People don't discuss who should do what around the house when they get married. But for some reason, I think women just end up doing things that women are expected to do, and men find themselves doing things that men are expected to do. So the husband will find himself probably trimming the trees and cutting the lawn, and the wife will find herself washing the dishes and cleaning the house. Like when I moved in with my flatmate, I just started, when I first moved in, he did all the, I found him here. So he did most of the cleaning around the house, and actually used to feel bad that he has to clean. While I was doing that, I would clean just my room, and then eventually I took over the cleaning of the house, and I do it. And when he's not too busy, he helps me. He sweeps and I mop, and we just go on with our lives. I take no offense in the fact that he doesn't do as much cleaning as I do. I don't know if that makes sense. So I guess the same happens with these marriages. People just find themselves gravitating towards certain duties and chores around the house. If anything, I actually enjoy cleaning. I love cleaning. I have a lovely relationship with cleaning. I don't really enjoy cleaning. Like, the time leading to me cleaning is the most stressful time of my life. But once I start cleaning, I really enjoyed it. I find it invigorating. And afterwards, I like looking at what I've done. Like, damn, I washed all those dishes. I swept this floor. I scrubbed that toilet. Look at how shiny that toilet is. I find it rewarding. Like cleaning, I find cleaning rewarding. Okay, another point that I made is about Sunny. So Megan Moon talked about how South Korean society used to be an agrarian society, and the definition of agrarian is a society. Wikipedia. I don't understand this English that Wikipedia used here, but okay. It said agrarian definition. An agrarian society it's me. It's never Wikipedia, is it? It's always me. So, definition of agrarian society. An agrarian society or agricultural society is any community whose economy is based on producing and maintaining crops and farmland. So, Zimbabwean society up to this day is heavily agrarian. Even in cities, you'll find people with like big backyards, or they'll be growing something there, like they've a patch of land where they grow something. That's how much Zimbabweans live off the land. Not everyone lives completely off the land, but people enjoy growing things. Like my older sister, she lives in a city, but she actually has a little piece of land where she grows like her own tomatoes, onions, so she doesn't have to buy them from the market. She grows these things in a backyard when she can. But in the rural areas, it's heavily agrarian. it's an agricultural society. People live off the land. They grow things and they eat whatever it is that they grow, and sometimes they sell the stuff so they can get money to buy other things that they cannot grow. Like, you can't grow soap, so you gotta sell whatever you're growing to buy soap. That's an example. So with Zimbabwe being an agrarian society, especially back in the day, there was this thing where a son-in-law was expected to know how to use a plow. So I'll probably insert a picture of a plow and someone holding a plow. So a plow is this piece of metal. I don't know how to describe it. That's why I'm going to put up a picture of it. So is this? For now, I'll just describe it as this thing that you use to plow the land. You plow the land so it's easier to work. So there are like seasons there's a season for everything. So there is a season where people grow crops, and a season where the land just lies and how do I say, and recovers from all the trauma it went through during the crop season, during the English, during the time that people were like growing their crops on it. So the land gets disturbed as people are plowing it and digging on it to grow their crops. Once they harvest, the land lies and it recovers from the trauma. So the next time people need to grow their crops, they have to plow it, so it's easier to work with. So the land is easy to work with. So this plow is dragged by cows. So they tie usually two cows to the plow, and then someone holds it, and as the cows move, this person digs this plow. The person holding the plow digs it into the ground, and it turns the soil upside down, making it easier to work with when people are planting things and stuff like that. So it's actually quite a difficult thing to do, because now you're trying to control the plow and you're trying to control the cows. Sometimes there are two people, one person holding the plow and the other person controlling the cows, slightly encouraging the cows to keep moving in the right direction. And also sometimes while the cows are supposed to be working, they might decide to feed. There's grass everywhere and shrubs everywhere, so they might decide, I'm just going to take a lunch break when it's not time for lunch yet. So the second person is just making sure that these cows stay on track. I'm so sorry to vegans, but yes, we need these cows in Zimbabwe to help us survive. To help us survive. Not everyone in Zimbabwe lives that way. I'm talking about the rural areas, and back in the day, a lot of people lived that way. So now holding this plow and controlling it is not easy, and you need to consider it's something being pulled by two animals. There is a little bit of a pull on the plow. I'm not going to call it a little bit. You need to be really strong and well built in order to keep this plow steady. So they used to say, like, if a son-in-law doesn't know how to hold that plow that's being guided by cows, they are not really good enough. They're not good enough for your daughter. So a son-in-law should know how to hold a plow. If you don't know how to do it, who raised you? Which I think is quite that was a toxic thing, because people have health conditions that stop them from being as active as the average person, and sometimes people are just not built for it. Not every man has big muscles, ready to hold the plow that's being dragged by cows, animals. So I think that was a really toxic thing. And the more I'm reading through these points and the more I watch Megan's videos, I actually realize in South Korea, marriage can be hard for anyone, but like from her perspective, she's talking from her perspective as a woman, marriage in South Korea is hard on women, right? Of course, it's also hard on women in Zimbabwe, but like most of my points that I'm raising here about how it is hard for men, I think I've talked about, men having to make it rain on their wife's families throughout their lives, and I've talked about how men have to know how to hold the plow. So I think these men in Zimbabwe, they're having a quite a hard time, but not so much these days really, because the society is getting more westernized, and some of the things that I'm mentioning now, people who have access to the internet probably. Zimbabweans who have access to the internet probably don't know anything about it. But I grew up in the rural areas, and I'm quite interested in Zimbabwean culture, because I what? Now I forgot how to talk. I always forget how to talk. Okay, so I'm quite interested in my culture because it contributes to the person that I am today. It defines me as a person. I don't want to end up with no identity crisis. And going back to the issue of filial piety, where Megan mentioned that a lot of people feel like they owe their parents. They have to give money to their parents because their parents raised them. In Shona, we have a term. It's I forgot to ask my mom what these things, what tumoni madimikira are called in English, but we have some a saying that goes "Chirere mangwana chigokurera," like raise it now so it can also raise you tomorrow. That's a direct translation, but it implies take care of your children now so they can take care of you in future, which is what filial piety is about really. You take care of your parents because they took care of you when you were growing up. I like giving my parents money. I enjoy doing it. I'm not always able to do it because I'm not a millionaire yet. I don't earn a lot, but whenever I get a chance to, I enjoy sending them money and just taking care of them. I enjoy it when my mom says thank you. I enjoy it when my dad says thank you. I love giving them money, but and I don't know if that's because they raised me to give them money, like I'm programmed to want to take care of them, or it's just something I enjoy doing. I enjoy giving my parents money, but the more I consume Western content, I actually realize that taking care of your parents is not a thing. Like some people believe they don't have to give their parents money. They don't have to take care of their parents because you didn't give birth to me, so you can have someone to take care of when you get older. A colleague of mine actually said it's selfish for a parent to expect to get money from their child just because they took care of their child. I don't know, I enjoy giving my parents money. So for Megan as an American, she doesn't really resonate with this part of South Korean culture where parents have to give their give their money, where children have to give their parents money. She doesn't really understand that part of South Korea, which is understandable because American culture is quite different from Asian culture. I mean, why am I out here mentioning the obvious? But for me as an African, as a Zimbabwean, I understand the concept of giving your parents money, the concept of taking care of your parents as they get older and they retire. I enjoy doing it. I love doing it. I wish I could do it more. I wish I could send my parents money every month. Enjoy sending my parents money. I love it. I love it. But of course, for an American, it's quite strange to them because it's not part of their culture. But it's part of Zimbabwean culture. And actually, some Zimbabweans probably don't enjoy sending their parents money. It's not all Zimbabweans. It's not universal. Actually, I've seen. I'm not big on TikTok, but now as a YouTuber, I need TikTok for memes. I love memes. I need TikTok for memes that I can use on my channel, in my YouTube videos. So I do have TikTok. But I used to get TikTok videos, and anyway, on YouTube Shorts is more like TikToks. I've seen YouTube Shorts where some Africans make videos on why I stopped sending money to Africa, and they brag about this. I find it shameful.
냄새. disgusting한 냄새가 나요. disgusting shit.
Did I say that? Yes, I find it shameful that someone would go on the internet and brag about how they stopped sending their family money. I would understand if you're talking about your distant family, like cousins and your uncles and stuff, but your immediate family, I don't think it's admirable for you to go on the internet and brag about how you stopped sending your mother money. That's, for me, it's shameful. But anyway, teach their own. Okay, and okay, another thing that I always think about like the more I talk is the more I'm drifting away from Megan's video and just talking about Zimbabwean culture. This is actually quite tied to what Megan talked about how when someone gets married in South Korea, when a woman gets married, her husband's family expected to do all the work around the house. So now they found a free maid. She has to do everything, the cooking, the cleaning, the everything they have to do. She has to do everything. And I find that also like to be quite a little bit of a toxic mindset, because she's human. And where are the people who used to do these chores that you're expecting your daughter-in-law to do? Why actually there used to be a joke about that used to circulate back in the day. I don't know if it was restricted to Zimbabwe, but there was a joke about this woman who got married, and she said to her in-laws, those who used to wash the dishes should continue washing the dishes. Those who used to do the laundry should continue doing the laundry. Those who used to sweep the yard should continue sweeping the yard. Nothing should change just because I'm here. That's how much in African society the daughter-in-law is expected to do most of the work around the house when they get married. I actually remember like how people talking about how when you get married and you visit your in-laws, or maybe if you're living with your in-laws, you're supposed to wake up before everyone else and do like all your morning chores before your in-laws wake up. So when they wake up to a clean house, a clean yard, maybe breakfast ready to be served to them. What's going on with cultures? So yeah, this is something that happens in Zimbabwe, and according to Megan, also happens in South Korea. So nowadays, I think it mostly happens when like there's an occasion, because when there's like a function in the family, because now a lot of people are living in urban areas, and the husband probably lives in the rural areas, and you see the family from time to time. You're not always with them. So maybe when you visit your husband's family, that's when you have to do all these chores. So for example, I'm going to talk about my older brother's funeral. That's the first time I decided I don't want to be part of this. It's a toxic thing. My older brother passed on in 2006. May so rest in peace. It's something that I actually don't usually talk about because it feels like it happened yesterday. So I'm not going to mention too much about losing my brother, but I'm going to talk about what was happening at my brother's funeral. People, the ladies, like the Muroras, the daughter-in-laws, they worked hard at this funeral. You know, scrubbing pots, cooking, making big fires, fetching water for everyone, because now the people have to bathe, the people have to eat. There was just too much going on. It was too much going on. You know, I was grieving, but at the same time, I was grieving for my brother, but at the same time, I was also grieving for these women who had to do all this work. Like, it was back-breaking work that they were doing. And you know, the place where the bowl where they were getting the water was far. It was very far from where we were living. I couldn't believe that people had to work so hard at a funeral. No, they also lost their relative. My brother was their relative. They should be mourning with everyone. But here they are donking away the entire time, sweating, working in the heat, cutting bread and pouring tea and things like that. It was just too much going on. So actually that day I decided I don't want to be buried. I want to be cremated. I don't want people to fuss at my funeral, because of course I'll be dead, so probably I won't know much about what will be going on. But I had to think of people fussing at my funeral the way these women were fussing, the way these women were going on. And it's because it's expected of them to do all that. Can you believe it? It's someone else's child having to run around with buckets of water and firewood and mealie meal and making food and cutting cabbage and braising it and stuff like that. I didn't enjoy it at all. It looked weird to me. It looked weird to me. And it probably was so weird to me because I didn't grow up in my rural home, and I didn't attend a lot of family functions. So this was like one of my first big family function to attend, and I haven't attended another big family function since then. My thoughts on this part of our culture, but just I never got the opportunity to attend another functions. But if I'm going to call people to my function, I'll probably hire a catering company. People are paid for it, and yeah, people are paid for it. Also, I mentioned Ndreura earlier on. So Ndreura is this thing that the ladies were doing, like at my brother's funeral, like in the evening, you know, when everyone is done eating, these ladies are taking a break from this big breaking work that they were doing the entire day. They would like dance for us, and then we'd give them money. But it's changed. It's not like proper money that we're giving these ladies. Then we would give them money, and they would, like, you know, it's actually I don't know, there's no Shona term for it, but they say like it's not, yeah, like they act cute with you, and they flatter you, and they say all these cute naughty things to you, and you're like, oh stop, and then you give them money, which is not a lot of money. As I mentioned, the other one is just change. I was in high school. What money am I giving people? Okay, and another funny thing that happens in these like functions, these big family functions, that I find appalling, shocking, is how old people get fed before children. Like when the food is ready, they dish for the elders of the family before they feed the children. I mean, these old men have been eating their whole lives. They should wait and let the kids eat first. That's my thinking. That's my take on this. So if I ever host one of these family functions, I'm going to feed the children first before I feed these old men. So the children sitting there hungry and wondering what's going on. The food is ready, but we're not eating because we're too busy feeding these old men and old ladies. We've been eating for the past 60, 70, 80 years of their lives. They cannot wait 5 minutes for the children to get fed first before they get fed. I'm getting emotional here because I find that shocking. Let the kids eat first and then you eat. And sometimes, like and another thing, these daughter-in-laws who do the cooking and the prepping and the dishwashing and the fetching of water, they eat last, and sometimes they end up getting the scraps because they were trying to save their in-laws the best food, the best cuts of chicken. The best cuts of chicken, and now they're just left to eat the leftovers, but they did the cooking. Shocking things, really. And I was going to talk about, okay, so Megan also mentioned about like how in-laws micromanage like the marriage, like they are conscious to even talking about mother-in-laws who are constantly visiting, bringing in like side dishes and food, and just making sure that everything is okay around the house, regardless of their son being married. Once your son gets married, you should hand the baton to your daughter-in-law, because now she's with him, she's taking care of him. Actually, she mentioned one story that I found shocking, where the mother-in-law bought underwear for his son. Ma'am, she said she knows what underwear his son likes, and she knows his size, so she has the right to buy him underwear. Like, ma'am, what are you doing? Get some help. You need
Stop it. Get some help.
help. So I'm going to talk about micromanaging the marriage. Actually, there is this thing. I don't know if it's really a thing. It's something that I haven't. Of course, I'm not married, so I haven't experienced some of these things directly myself. It's just my observations. But we used to talk about it in high school a lot. Like, you know, with the emphasis on purity in Zimbabwean society. On like your honeymoon night, apparently, this is just talk that I used to hear when I was in high school. Apparently, they would take like white bed linen and lay it for you and your husband so you can do the deed on your wedding night. So apparently your in-laws, like your husband's sisters and maybe his dead sisters, would be waiting outside the door, listening in, listening in, them peeping toms right outside your room on your wedding night. So they'll be outside the room, and once you're done with your business, they will take this bed linen and inspect it to see if there is blood on it. Because then the mindset then was, if there's no blood, it means you're not a virgin. And now as I learn more about you're not pure virgin, probably. I don't know if you should like the word virgin. Okay, it means you're not pure if there's no blood on the bed linen that they laid out for you. Then it means you're not pure. Then it means you might be disqualified from this marriage. And when you get married, like when a woman gets married, there's a cow that's given to your mother, but apparently this cow was only given on condition that you're pure. So if you're not pure and your husband's family decides to keep you, they're nice enough to keep you, your mother will not get that cow. Can you believe it? So apparently they used to take that bed linen. If you were not pure, they would cut you. Now as I'm explaining this story, I don't think it's true. I don't think it was true. I think it was just fear-mongering to make sure that we keep them legs closed. Fear-mongering to make sure we keep them legs closed until marriage. And then they would cut a hole in one of the sheets and hang it on the washing line where everyone can see that this girl, it wasn't pure when she got married. No man, this is dodgy. If there are any Zimbabweans watching this video, please let me know if this is any true, if this used to happen. I mean, the part of cutting the sheet and laying it on the washing line for the world to see that we're not pure. There's another thing called, I'm nearing the end of this video. I think I've talked enough, I've rambled enough and complained enough. This thing called Chinamwari. I'm not very familiar with Chinamwari because I've never experienced it, and I think it happens in certain parts of Zimbabwe, very far from where I'm from, where women are taught how to take care of their husbands, not take care of them like feeding them, but the other taking care of your husband. And apparently it's very, how to say, it's not something that's enjoyable. Like you go through a lot of exercises and activities that you do to train you that probably the girls who go through it don't enjoy. So it's like an initiation school, but with a lot of activities that women don't, that girls that age don't enjoy. And just the fact that it feels like grooming, the fact that you're teaching this young lady, because people do it like when you just become a woman, when you like early into your womanhood, is there such a thing as womanhood? Like as you become a woman, maybe as you get your first period, then you go to this initiation school. But at that time, you don't really know much about marriage, and maybe not even think about marriage. The last thing on your mind, you should be thinking about graduating from school and your exams and stuff like that. You shouldn't be thinking about marriage. So the fact that they're teaching adult things to these children, it's just wild. I don't know if it's still happening now, but I think quite a lot of African cultures do practice this. In Zimbabwe, of course, we have one of the mildest forms of it. I believe so, I hope so. But I never went to any initiation school. If anything, my dad used to preach to me about how I don't have to get married if I don't want to. If I don't want to, which I really appreciated, and I appreciate to this day, because I'm under no pressure to get married to nobody. Oversharing again. Okay, that's about it really. I've talked a lot, and I've probably drifted quite a bit from the main topic that I sat down here to discuss. But I appreciate you for watching, for surviving this rambling session, this yapping session. I'm quite the yapper. Oh, I'm sure people have found out by now. Okay, bye.
Well, they asked me, did I have a message to share with the world? That's my massage.
Okay.
Oh, message. I'm sorry, message. They said message.